Like, what goes on behind the scenes of running a presidential campaign?
Yeah, it's tough because you basically have to learn how to delegate to people across the country, countless people across the country. In a lot of ways, it is like running, a Fortune 500 company, and that you've got people all over the place. They all need to be, on the same page as far as objectives and messaging are concerned. And then you've got to run, in the various different verticals. You've got to massage members of Congress, get them involved and out there endorsing and going on the road and really getting them to go out there and spread your message for you. Or you got to do voter contacts, like I said, or you got to go out there and buy TV and media, on all channels. It gets more diverse and more, interesting every cycle. And so it really is. It's like running a Fortune 500 company. It's crazy.
Yeah, so cool. And that's why I think Trump was such a qualified fit, is because he had the business experience, and that's how he ran the country, like a business.
Yeah, and I think where we really, you brought up like Fauci getting a medal and stuff. I mean, I think like in 2020,
he heard that.
Yeah, they're good.
I remember. But
not doing sign language over here. We're having a conversation.
Right. Well, I contend to this day, I don't think he lost the election to Joe Biden. I think at the end we lost the election to COVID, right? When you think about it, you guys are media guys. Like every time someone put on a mask or someone had to like disinfect their fruit at a Whole Foods or whatever.
Yeah, like your everyday life is fundamentally changed.
Yeah, it's like a $20 in-kind donation to Joe Biden, and he didn't have to do anything. And the media and social media, they were all in the tank for him, so much so that I remember we cut an ad, and I don't know if this is reported anywhere, so you guys can talk about it. We cut an ad, and it was all about like the Hunter Biden laptop, which I've held the hard drive in my hands before. Like it's real.
You've had the laptop?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a tangible thing.
It's like the slideshow at the end of The Hangover.
Yeah,
you ever seen that movie?
Pretty much. It's just
pictures are wild.
Florida starts playing whenever you open up the top. But like we cut stuff about that. We put in an ad, and we're like, CNN, we want to spend a couple $1 million advertising on your network. Like,
they're like, no.
Here's our money. And they're like, well, this can't be possibly be substantiated. We're like, well, you want a copy of the laptop? Like, I got a buddy who's got like 3. You want one? Like, no. Like, that's not how this works. It's not credible. Like, we didn't report on it. It's like, that's not how any of this
doesn't make
works.
it credible just because you reported on it.
And I think like we see the rise. I think it's really given a lot more license to folks like you guys and folks, across like the media landscape to go out there and do their own thing, independent of traditional legacy media. I think that them like censoring the Hunter Biden stuff, the way they covered that election has had such a wide impact, not only on politics, right, but people outside of it are looking at, what goes on when you trust a big like established brand with what you're saying. And they've made the decision that I think it's so much more powerful. There's so many more content creators out there doing their own thing now as opposed to 4 years ago. And we'll be talking about this for forever.
Yeah. Well, that along with the laws with absentee ballots because of COVID being expanded so far. I mean, he was up against a lot, but at the end of the day, Joe Biden, man, how do you lose that guy?
Yo, my favorite was the dead people that voted. That was my personal favorite.
That was your
favorite? Yeah. How there were people who were born 150 years ago who voted.
I like that.
That was cool.
They voted a dead person into office. I mean, he's like the cadaver in chief, bro. Like he doesn't do anything. Like, okay, we're taping this today, this morning.
Yeah.
There's all this action going on in Israel, and I think you mentioned you want to get into it.
Yeah.
Homie didn't wake up to put out a statement. Like, he didn't put out a statement till like 10:30, 11 a.m.
Got to get those 8 hours, man.
Like, bro, that shit happened at like 2 a.m. Like, you're not waking up like early enough to put out a statement before then. That's crazy. And like, you have something like that level and that scope happening, and you've got some like junior staffer in the NSC giving out statements to reporters at 4 a.m.
It's crazy.
It's despicable.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder bad stuff happens. Like, there's a literal dead body occupying the Oval Office. It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we transition, what's the dynamic like working on that 30-man team? Like, is Trump in a boardroom with you guys talking to you, or do you even report to him at all, or how does that work?
I'm not transitioning anywhere. I just wanted to be clear that we're not transitioning live on this podcast unless something's going to happen off camera that I wasn't aware of. No, I mean, he basically, what I like about Trump is that a lot of people view it as like chaos, but he likes to like pit folks against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you've got an idea and you've got an idea, he's basically going to encourage you both to like fight to the death, and then like the best idea wins. And I think it's very toxic in like a non-political setting, but in politics where there's so many different issues and everything you have to approach from like 6 or 7 different angles, it's very helpful. Now, when you get into office, it then becomes about, okay, who has the most access to them, who can, because if you don't have access to the guy, you can't pitch him your ideas, and bad guys get in there and crap in, crap out. I mean, that's how it works.
So I guess my question was, have you ever sat with him and been like, we should do this, or do you report to somebody who reports to somebody who goes like all the way up?
I've been in the room as like we make decisions, and so I confidently say like I've been in the room where you're pitching ideas back and forth, and he's literally stopped and been like, how many jobs does it make? Okay, go do it. Like at the end of the day,
Damn.
That's what I love about him is it's all about like tangible quality of life improvements. Like when I was at the White House, I hit the mic. One of the projects I worked on was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And never there's like studies out there about how long it takes from something to happen in Washington D.C. for people in like local communities to actually feel it.
Yeah.
And it's like it's ages. Sometimes you never feel or really even understand people up there doing stuff. But with that, it was special. It was special because we did that, and then in like 2 weeks, everyone saw a rebate. 2 weeks, like your taxes went down, you weren't paying as much money, to the federal government, and that is where I think like he doesn't get enough credit because like those are the criteria, right? Okay, well, is someone gonna talk about it? Like you can criticize him for being.
No one reported it.
Yeah. Well, you can criticize him for being like narcissistic. He was always talking about no one talks about the shit I do. But like that was kind of like the criteria, right? Like if you're doing the right thing, people are going to be talking about it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
No, and the economy was absolutely booming, right? It was the strongest economy we've ever seen since like Clinton when we had the surplus, like way back. So he really only got like 2.5 years, 3 years to do stuff, and then COVID.
Yeah.
And basically shit hit the fan. So I guess for you guys, how do you even like begin to tackle the huge fucking task of saying like, hey, this guy should still be president even though the world just like shut down? Like, was that like your biggest hurdle, just trying to say like despite COVID he should still win?
Yeah, it was tough, and I think a lot of people criticize him for the way he handled it, but then those same people also criticize him for like, it's just like no one has made up their mind still as to like how we as a nation will collectively address this. Like when they write textbooks for our kids, if we ever have them. When they write those textbooks, no one really knows how that's going to shake out.
Yeah.
I mean, we could probably guess. And so I think like what we're seeing is everything's constantly evolving, and people's true feelings about what happened aren't necessarily what was being communicated to the masses because Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, legacy media, they were all censoring it.
Yeah, which is all proven, like with the Twitter files and and everything. So that was shadow a doubt. Because like if there's a time of mass uncertainty, an outside person would say, okay, you want continuity. Like you don't want to change things. But every single media outlet was like, this guy's doing a terrible job. We need somebody new. And they're like, why? Like, just listen. Because we say so. Yeah.
And I think like you ask about making the case for a second run at things. And there's two ways we can take this convo. This is where I wanted to go earlier. We were off camera was just think about it, right? This guy is either going to come in there and destroy Washington, D.C., be like more unhinged than anyone because he's motivated to do so. He can only serve one term. Who fucking cares? Like he could come in here and just torch the place to the ground, right? Or he could come in here and set up the future, and find some flag bearers and lay the foundation for future victories. There's really like no way we are going to know which way he's going to go. I think he's going to go in the former, because the whole theme of this is unfinished business, right? Yeah. Like he's got to get back in there and get revenge. It's like an action movie. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger just blowing people's heads off. And that's him to like everyone in the primary. Like he doesn't have to show up to debates. I mean, that's crazy. He's out there like speaking. He was at a McDonald's, or where was he the other day? He did an off-the-record stop while they were debating. And Chris Christie had the balls to look in the camera and be like, I know you're watching, Donald.
Duck.
Donald Duck. Oh, that was the worst of all
so
time.
Cringe.
Like, and he's on camera somewhere actually like campaigning. Like it's so funny. So I think he'll be unhinged, and I think that's what people want. At the end of the day, I think in my most like removed times, in my most removed thoughts, because when you look at what happened in like Pennsylvania, where like Fetterman won, or that guy in Georgia, like Warnock, like all those guys in Georgia that won that they probably shouldn't have. You think like people just kind of want a guy. It's like sports betting. Like they're going to bet on the guy they think is going to cause the most noise.
Yeah.
And, they want the underdog and the anti-establishment guy. And that's going to be him until he dies.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this short clip, check out the full interview here. And if you want to see more clips from this episode, check it out right here.